right. Okay, everybody, hit that like. We're gonna be up in a moment or so. Let's see. Okay, it chats, and then making sure the audio is good. We will make sure that the audio is good. You sound fantastic. I don't think they can hear you yet because I have switches I have yet to throw. But it's hard to tell these days. The kids today and they're crazy go nuts. Yeah, all that. All right. About 1 minute away. Yeah. Great. I'm all in. Whatever you need. Yeah. I completely understand. I don't know. I think she's the grift that keeps on griving, personally. Instagram, by the way, we'll go live in just 1 second. I'm live on Instagram right now. Hi, Instagram people. I don't have a startup page on this version of the show right now. You'll just have to forgive me. You only get an hour anyways, and then the internet gods cut you off. So you don't even get to see Tera Dublin Rocks, but you will get to see Cliff Schechter. So hang in. It's going to be a good time. Hit that like, everybody. Let people know we're here. And I'll just switch straight on. Okay, I have to do this real quick. Gets his own lower third today. It's very exciting. Yeah, yeah. You've graduated. You've made it. Yeah. Oscars be damned. You get a lower third on my show? Yeah. People be jelly. Yeah, that's right. Hold on, wait. And I'm going to confirm something for the SCHECTR? CER? Sorry. Yes, check. I think that's wise. I have a theory about the root of your name, and I'm curious if it lines up with your reality. But first, I will bring myself in. Welcome to the show, everybody. They can't hear you, Cliff, right now. So I have a crazy voice in my head right now, and it's Cliff Schechter, and that's kind of amazing. You know, most people go crazy the old-fashioned way, and I do it in the smartest way possible. Ladies and gentlemen, if I may, bringing you in right now, there he is, Cliff Schechter, live from Schechterville, and I did. Pow, made that right there. Look at that. And then I gotta hold on. Yeah, it's very nice. I have to take the green screen, put a little filter on it, because we know. Yeah, I was like, he's a smart dude, so therefore we will give you a smart dude icon until you override it and you have a logo and all that shit. Hold on 1 second. I will close the door so. That's the spirit. Well, here's the problem. It's you find yourself in a I'm not. Oops, sorry. Let's see. And I think everybody can hear you all right. Chat. His volume's okay. Say something, Cliff. So we do. Nope. Now they can. Now they can. You're all good. Okay.
All right.
Yes, it's good stuff. So There he is. Got him. All good. Solved it. We're dancing around with multiple microphones in Schechterville. So my theory is that there's a everybody's familiar with the phrase shyster, which is of course a thief, a grifter, someone like that. And a Schechter would be somebody who gives that person the old heave ho, the old poke and prod.
So the Schechter kind of kicks the ass of the shyster, you're saying?
Yes, I like to think so. But then what do I?
And if what will make that, so you understand that is which with Christy Nome, I suppose this is even more apropos right now. Schechter actually we are of German Jewish extract, also Ukrainian, but in German, Schechter means ritual slaughterer. So yeah, we're the ones that killed animals apparently many generations back.
Yeah, giving them the old shecht.
So
right. You shechted them.
So why couldn't we kick the shit out of a shyster if we're busy killing animals? I mean, look at Christy Nome. She kills dogs, goats.
Yeah.
Now she wants to kill Biden's dog. I mean,
That's the spirit. I guess if you're going through hell, keep going. Your own. In these particular instances, it's always fun to watch these people decide. Maybe this is a good start-off question for you, Cliff Schechter, if I may, and I think that I can.
It's your show. I absolutely think you may.
Yes. Are there only two paths available to Republicans right now, which is double down to the point of total debasement or absolute retreat, disappear? Just stop showing up, just vanish effectively. These are their only options.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, though, I watched that Christy Nome interview, and the thing is, what was so pathetic about it is and that's what you're saying. You're right. You have to take one strong direction, right? So when she was sort of kept not answering the question and kept sort of oh, well, I've met many world leaders, and blah, 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 you just make yourself look like an asshole. Like the response should have been, that was a mistake. It shouldn't have been in there. We're taking it out of the book. She should have said strongly that she screwed up. I mean, it would be amazing if she had done it that way and then moved on to some of the other stories from her book. But because she played the whole, well, I went to the DMZ and I might have been able to see him over. He has a weird haircut, so I think I spotted him. And I mean, the whole thing was just stupid. You didn't meet him. You lied about it. The best thing to do is just say it was a fuck up and fix it. But these guys don't get that ever.
Yeah, it's
but to answer your broader question, sorry, Al, go ahead.
No, go finish that thought and we'll get there. Yeah.
The broader question is, we're in a really sad period of time. Donald Trump is the one who was the Pandora's box that we can't seem to close again, but it let out all these other freaks like him, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, right? And the Matt Gaetzes. And so the problem is that at this point, they've so radicalized their base, and so they're living so far outside of reality that they have to double down and that's why you see Trump doing that with the I'm deporting 11 million people and I'm monitoring menstrual cycles and all this shit, because it's the only turning out every last cretin from under a rock is the only way they can win. Like they've already lost the suburbs, and I don't think they can win if it's an honest race. Close to an honest race. It'll never be an honest race, but they'll suppress votes and all that. But unless they pull some real shit, I don't think they can win because of that. So they have to double down and triple down, and that's where they are.
Yeah, I'm trying to mess a little bit with latency. Well, that's fun. Now I'm getting a loop back. That's
latency.
Yeah, that was weird. Yeah, so we're for some reason your audio is delayed from the camera or whatever coming your way. So I was trying to mess with that, but that was I don't know how much I'm going to be able to.
Sorry about that.
That's okay. I think I can remedy it from this side in terms of milliseconds, depending, but we'll try. That said, there is no there in terms of policy at this point from the Republican side of things that I can see, other than shut down the border, which I don't think any of them actually have thought through what that means, besides the fact that I guess you can if you want to destroy the entire economy of Texas, it's a good way to go. But I don't see.
Brilliant.
What actual policies do they have to run on? And do you think that's why we're seeing a shift in the polls Biden's way over the last little bit, as people start waking up to the election cycle where they may have been asleep to it? It's this. Is that I don't know. I have honestly no idea what they're going to run on other than, unfair witch hunt.
Right.
It's stunning to me.
Yeah.
What's there? I can't find it.
To answer, sorry, I know we got I apologize for the delay and all of that, and which is messing with us right now. But sort of to answer the question you were getting at there, all they have to run on. Look, MAGA is when we talk about it being a cult, right?
Yeah.
It is a feeling. It is a white assholes be free. It's not, it basically, if you put up fly paper and that fly paper were meant to attract the most sociopathic, the criminals, the greed heads, the religious zealots, the worst among society, deplorables, as somebody once said.
Right.
Then that's what it is. So that's why a classic example is it's not policy flows from the hatred, right? So the policy flows from what MAGA is. So they're like, how can we harm people? Well, yeah, let's monitor, menstrual cycles so women die of sepsis. Let's send the military into communities, because I'm sure that with what the police have done, that won't go badly with minorities at all. Let's, deport 11 million people. Even it doesn't really matter if we get it right, get it wrong. Who the hell cares? Throw them out of the country. They may die. They may whatever. It all stems from what MAGA is, which is greed, hatred, and that's why you get like Rod Blagojevich, who is a criminal and a former Democrat, on a stage with them, right? Because party doesn't matter anymore. It's basically, are you a terrible person? Have you spent time in prison?
Right.
Have you thought about committing sexual assault or maybe committed it? Have you all the?
Do you think they go door to door like Amway? Right. You think they go door to door like Amway, going, "Have you considered sexual assault? Could you sign our petition? We're looking for candidates to run in this particular area, and we're trying to see if which of our neighbors might be the perfect Republican candidate." So I just want to ask you one is, how do you feel about sexual assault? They most of them have them coming, and the other ones are lying. Check. Okay, excellent. How do you feel about what tax dollars? They should go to support giant businesses, but fuck everybody. Okay, good. That's excellent. Okay, right. And where is your wife right now?
Yep.
Kitchen. Nice. Excellent. And right. I find it ironic and interesting that you brought up like the tracking of periods and the like, is how, on the one hand, very anti-science they are all the time. And on the other hand, though, they need scientific evidence of when and, what stage of a pregnancy you're in. The malleable aspect of that is off the charts. It's like, this is by weeks when we say it is. And if you try to leave it, if there's any reason that, we can, there's any fungibility in the information we have, we'll use that to act on your rights as a human being. With like, if you've been pregnant for 6 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. We don't quite know. That's one of those little impossibilities in the human
and we don't
body.
quite care.
Yeah, right. That's exactly it. Yes, and they don't.
Like they don't care either.
I'm amazed that. First of all, I don't believe it's a tight race right now at all. I think when you look at the likely voters, Biden's got a lead of like 7 points. It's a margin of error of plus or minus 4. I'm giving him the whole +4. And the reason I believe in that is the red wave bullshit. Remember the red.
So can I say something, Hal? Because I've tried to go on as many shows as I can to say this. Like, I began my career in political polling. Don't hold it against me like I'm some boring Nate Silver-like fucking loser. But, I began my career doing that, and so I understand it well. And the thing is that we're in a point now, these polls, if you look at the ones from the previous elections, are so far off. They're not talking to anybody from Gen Z. They're not talking to a lot of people, because we're at a point now where people, it used to be you get a phone call and people wanted to answer it because they weren't getting 50 billion.
Right.
Now they don't want to because they're being called and people. So these polls have proven again and again. Look, we just had it in New York again last week where they had polls like, oh, looks like it's going to be close. Well, in a plus 22 Democratic seat, right, we won by 36 points, a plus 14 Democratic outcome. The Swazi seat was the same thing. There was that same day in Pennsylvania, a state house race that we were supposed to win by 15 that we won by 36.
Right.
I mean, you can, and then you can look on the losing side. If there was an Oklahoma race state house race that we were supposed to win by, I think, 20. We were supposed to lose and get 27%. Instead, we got 47. We are overperforming. I don't give a shit what polls say what people might do. We have real polls, which are all these elections that have happened since 2022 and before, what people are showing us what they're doing. So people are like, I'll say this quickly. My view on Biden right now is if you view the post-Dobbs atmosphere, if you view the attacks on democracy from the right, Trump's erratic and crazy behavior, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and the losers in the House that look like a fucking circus show, and all of that, what you're seeing is that any state that was within 8 or 9 points is a viable state for Biden to win. So what I'm telling you is when people are like, oh, it's close, again, I want people to be motivated. I want them to go out. You need to work your ass off because we're taking, this is fascism we're taking on. If there's even that much of a chance we can lose, you need to be out there calling, donating, doing everything. But the point is that these polls are ridiculous. I believe exactly what you said. I think Biden's up a good solid 7 points. I think he as of right now, especially with abortion on the ballot in Florida, he'd win Florida. I think he only lost Texas by 5.5 points. And with all the insanity that's gone on there, I think he's absolutely either tied or ahead in Texas. And I even think, and I like saying this because I frickin' live here, in Ohio, with Sherrod Brown on the ballot, who's a great vote getter, who wins over a lot of working class white voters because he's genuine, and Trump lying to all of them here, they won here by about 7.5, 7.75 points. I think Ohio's in play too. So it's not, in North Carolina, we only lost by a point. I think we win North Carolina going away, and all the other ones we won. So again, we have to remember they're going to try to suppress in the states where they've got a Republican governor. Georgia, Florida, Texas, Ohio, they will do everything they can to suppress every Democratic vote. We shouldn't take that for granted. We need election security to make sure Putin doesn't break in and do stuff. But if it's anything close to an honest vote, I don't think it's going to be close. We're going to kick the shit out of him. I think we knock off Ted Cruz and Rick Scott, who most people don't understand, two of the most unlikable human beings. Rick Scott has spent billions and never won by more than 1.2%. He won his last election by like 0.013 or something. And Ted Cruz only beat Beto by 2.5 points. There's going to be a blue wave in 24. And if everybody does their part, we're going to win the House back huge. We're going to hold and maybe gain in the Senate. We'll lose the West Virginia seat. I think Tester holds on. I think Sherrod holds on, and we gain those 2 other seats. I even think we have a shot in Missouri with Hawley because he's hated so much. And we've got a good candidate there. So, I mean, people just need to remember. And look at the candidate in North Carolina, that crazy motherfucker who's running, Mark Robinson, who's said all sorts of, I think that governor's race is going to help us there too. So I think we're in a great position. People should not get scared by these crappy polls.
Agreed.
Because they've proven themselves. Every time we have a real election, it proves these polls are a joke.
I would say it's Rovember and bring a mandate. So that's really what this is about. What this election, is about is a blue wave mandate, a total refutation of MAGA philosophy and a final purging of the Tea Party, and in a level that doesn't allow them to rebrand the fucking thing and turn it into version 6 of whatever that this crazy moral majority, to the silent majority. They went from silent majority to moral majority because they didn't like the fact that silent sounded weak. So the moral majority allowed them to be the silent majority, but the reason is because this this filthy world, right? And then they went to, you know, there was like 2 other versions, that shitty ones that they worked out. That was compassionate conservative and family values conservative.
Contract with America.
Contract with America,
right?
yes. Same shit.
Contract with
Never
America,
works.
all that garbage.
Right. Never works. And it never has. And so what we
They
need...
just rebrand themselves constantly. Yep.
So we have a situation where in this fall, we can, because they got out over their skis, I specifically think with Roe, but I mean, there's a bunch of other areas that just on the measure, just the fact that Biden got us out of Afghanistan and passed an infrastructure bill, and Trump ran on that and couldn't do either. That in and of itself is like a whack-a-mole, you know, to like fuck off a lot of their arguments. The second one is, of course, that Rovember is going to be an important where we recognize that women currently, right now, are second-class citizens in the United States of America. They have to choose which state they can live in based on the rights they want to have. Men don't have that. Period. Men of any color, interestingly enough. Women of any color, however, have to go, I don't know, if I live in Texas, I have fewer rights than I have if I live in New York or Connecticut or Washington State or Oregon.
Right. Or New Mexico even probably. Or, you know, right.
And that in and of itself is going to drive a mandate push.
And I think it's so important what you're saying. And again, I keep apologizing because I know the delay is fucking us up a little bit. But I'm still having a great time, so I hope you are.
Well, great. Yeah, no worries.
But what it's funny. You're saying. I mean, we're so on the same page. I mean, I think it's probably because we're both so smart, and you know, I also started in Queer as Folk, so that gave me the basis for
That's
what
right.
you know. But no, the truth is that we want to beat. We have, you know, I would take a victory over Trump by 1 percentage point, right, or 1 vote. But what happens if that happens is MAGA keeps going.
Yep.
It needs to be. I've been saying this forever. A FDR 1932, 1934, or even 36 style absolute rejection of ridiculous conservatism to the point where it's a fucking massacre, where not only do we win big and take the House, grow the Senate, or lead the Senate, take state legislatures, win the presidency, but it needs to be that Biden wins really big, and so Trump goes down, but it also needs to be that big name Republicans lose. Like if we need scalps, we need Lauren Boebert, we need Ted Cruz, we need Rick Scott, I mean, there's a few people that are in such crazy right-wing districts like Gates and Marge that they're going to be very hard to beat. But there are other ones that are in closer districts. And we need, because the message needs to be that MAGA and every other rebranding they've done of themselves has failed. They've reached that end level of corruption where they stand for nothing but hatred and greed. And so that 3/4 or more of the country rejects the shit. And maybe there's a chance of like a center-right, sane Republican Party coming back so we can have debates about real issues. The only way that happens is if MAGA is destroyed.
Right. Agreed. For me, anyways, I personally believe that's going to happen. But I think one of the things we can really push this year, and I think will drive voter turnout and also will put the fear of God in Republicans, the real one that they should have, as opposed to this fake bullshit one that they're selling, is this idea that if every blue voter voted in every district they were in, we would take a lot more districts than people realize. And a lot of these voters that don't vote because they're like, I live in a red district, what difference does it make? Need to understand that their vote has more power to scare normalcy into the right-wingers in their area than anything else. Because if they look back and they go, oh shit, I thought I was in an 80-20 Republican district, it's closer to 55-45. That makes me nervous, and that means I have to court more people. And no better example of that than, I think right now, than Ted Cruz having to kiss Democrat ass to try and get reelected. He literally had a Democrat, the only Democrat he could find that was a serial sexual assaulter, I think, like his other buddies, allegedly, that came out to support him and go, Ted reaches across the aisle and like, get the fuck out of here. No, he doesn't. But the fact that he had to is a great sign. It's a great sign.
Yes. It tells you what you need to know, which is his people are looking at polling and looking at likely turnout models, and they're seeing that he's going to lose.
Yes.
So they're scared shitless. They're seeing, pot-belly Ted Cruz walking with the suitcase as he's leaving the dog. They like dogs in the Republican Party at home and leaving his constituents to freeze and sneaking to Cancun. Right? They're seeing the Ted Cruz that has been a complete asshole and called for door control when there are shootings in school. He is going to be rejected. He is going to lose, and he knows it. And that's how you know it, is exactly what you said, which is he's kissing so much Democratic ass and taking somebody like him down, somebody who's so awful, who is part of everything that MAGA is about, performance and bullshit, no policy, no principles, all about power and money. That would be huge. And that sends a message, as you said, it certainly sends a message to a John Cornyn in Texas. It sends a message to Republicans in other states that are relatively close. Yeah, you can't just behave like that. Shake the fuck up.
Right. And again, all it takes is every voter to vote. And look, Republican to Democrat, I want everybody voting. I'm the anti-Paul Weyrich. I want everybody to vote, because everybody who's engaged, if you lose fair and square, at least you participated, and it was based on you lost the war of ideas, and you either need to reshape your ideas, rethink your ideas, or recommunicate your ideas in a way that gets them across if you feel like they were misunderstood and that's why you lost. But at least you're engaged. You're not pulling out and going fucking Unabomber or Ted, like pulling a Ted Kaczynski or making plans about the Oklahoma City building or shit like that, which is what happens when people feel like they're totally disenfranchised. They pull out entirely, and that worries me. So I want everybody to vote. And when they do, we win. The Democrats win. And by the way, and not some sort of like hyper leftist communist picture that the Republicans want to paint as, but the genuine, functional, good-hearted left of center of the country, if you're going to use the left-right matrix that exists, is the base of the Democratic Party, and the Republicans will have to face the fact that there's a lot more of those folks in their districts. I mean, gay marriage is a great example, and women's rights will be yet another example of how they lose the actual focus, right, of the voter. They've lost the script.
Yep.
Okay, so the other question, and by the way,
I think that's exactly right.
We're having a Chris Matthews moment, and I love it. I'm just saying, I'm enjoying that kind of.
I feel close to you, Hal.
Yeah, I agree.
I really do.
Yeah, the next one we have will, the next time I'm in Ohio, which actually happens, I will be there this summer, actually. We'll do this in person, and
Which
well, I was born in Cincinnati, but only because my family was in Kentucky, and it was the nearest hospital without chickens in it. So
dude, I didn't know that. I'm in Cincinnati, right? Oh my God, you got to come back here.
Yeah, so I visit there all the time. I take my son back to see his grandparents, and we hang out and all that kind of stuff. And I have a bit about Florence Y'all that many people have heard in the stand-up world. And so yes, it'll be a massive hang. I'm very excited. That said, by the way, Cliff is the author of the book, The Real McCain.
Definitely, and I like to. Oh.
And I was doing a pitch for you. So yeah, the co-owner of We Act Radio, AM 1840 in DC. You still own We Act Radio and AM 1480. Sorry.
Kind of. I'm not really involved with that. The main stuff these days I do. You got it. I wrote the book, The Real McCain. Mm-hmm. I wrote ads for Biden in 2020. And these days it's so I've done all that consulting stuff, Mayor Bloomberg stuff on guns. I worked on closely for 5-6 years when we started to turn things around against the NRA around Newtown and after.
Yeah.
So my main thing now is that I have a big email list, raised funds for all sorts of Democratic candidates and good liberal causes. And then there's my YouTube channel, which is @CSchechter, where you can come find me doing commentaries, mocking Republicans, and all that kind
As
of
you
stuff.
do. And Cliff Schecter on Chitter. He's on Chitter as
What?
Cliff Schecter as well. And then as for better or for worse. But
Yeah.
then on top of that, there was something you brought up earlier, specifically about Texas, that it hit me in that moment. That Texas as the center of the universe of the solution to a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. And the fact that Uvalde happened there. What makes Uvalde stand out in all the school shootings, in the entire, in the unfortunate history, is that is the one instance you can point to where they stood back and didn't do anything. That is the criticism of it. In the heart of good guy with a gun territory, the alleged good guys with the gun, the only place we have seen them not rush towards danger and actually try to do something was in fucking Texas. Like that irony, I think needs to be hammered a little bit more as well.
I couldn't agree with you more on that. And that happened in Texas. There have been a number of other massacres there. Look, I mean, you get into the nuances of it. I know the issue well. They'll bring up anecdotally, oh, well, another one happened in California. Well, yeah, when California's the biggest fucking state by what's Texas? 60% of California, maybe?
Yeah.
Not even? I don't know. 50%, 40%.
Don't get me started on the size of Wyoming.
Per capita, and as I try to explain, Wyoming's awesome. Right? Like 70-1 is the size differential, but you guys get the same number of senators. That's worked great for democracy. But I've tried to point out to other people, it's just like, right-wingers obviously never show up in good faith, but you're sort of like, hey guys, there's this weird thing where you can, they always do Chicago, and I'm like, you can buy guns in Indiana and drive them across the state line.
Right.
It's crazy, I know, but you can do that. And you can do that in Washington, D.C. And so we've got the best one ever, and you shut them up every time is funny. There's one of the lowest levels of gun ownership in the country in Hawaii, and one of the lowest levels of gun violence because you can't just drive guns over.
Right.
It's the easiest experiment to do. You know?
And in the case they always also bring up,
especially in Texas.
They also bring up the fact that places like Chicago or whatever will have they have all these shootings and the most draconian rules. Okay, well, first of all, the reason they have the most draconian rules is because they've had an issue with it because the neighboring states have no fucking rules. Indiana, Iowa, Wisconsin, there's a huge problem with them just being, first of all, northern states that think they're southern, which drives me fucking crazy. If I hear another motherfucker say y'all in Wisconsin, I'm like, kiss my ass. You guys are this close to hooty hoo. You might as well be Canadian. Learn to speak French if you want to be closer to your roots. But this whole borrowing Scottish slang from south.
Honestly, eat some poutine, and I don't want to hear that y'all shit.
Right. So, but that's where that comes from. Is the reason you have to start ratcheting up your gun rules is because the neighboring states don't have any at all.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why it has to be federal.
Yes.
And I mean, listen, I worked in a lot of laws that moved the needle in states. So I'm not going to say in Florida after the horrible shooting there, in states where they didn't have horrible shoot. Well, I think there's one in Vermont, and that was always a very liberal state, but also very rural gun ownership. They passed background checks after. We've moved it in certain states, Minnesota passed it, places like that. But it really does need to be national because this is what happens. There's a demand in our cities from gangs and from anybody selling drugs and whatever, and they wouldn't have access to those weapons based on the laws in most of our big cities, the ones at least that are in blue and purple states. But they do because right next door is a state that has the shittiest laws in the world. And again, guns, unless we're going to set up, unless we're going to surround our states where people have to go through metal detectors to get from state to state, they're going to be able to bring guns across state lines. So it's going to be lower, and it still is lower in states that have good laws.
Yeah.
But it still is higher than it should be, and that's because we haven't passed a national law.
That's right.
Correct.
Yeah,
I think that's a real issue too, particularly for kids in school and parents who have kids in school.
Yeah, and you have a situation again where the policy provisions of the Republican Party seem to either be do nothing or stop what is being done. These are the two primary things, except when it comes to trans kids or gay marriage or something, which is like, well, I guess that would be in stop what is being done. Like, as we start recognizing and helping people, they're like, stop recognizing and helping people. That would be their, but there was never a primary solution a long time ago. I mean, I guess Christian conversion therapy would be the closest thing, but even that they shelved off onto someone else besides government, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's small government absolutely all the time, except for all the things where we don't want small government for and we want to tell you how to live. Right. I've often said that the best way you can, that you can figure out what Republicans are saying, it's kind of like, the old thing with like when you go to a Chinese restaurant and you get your fortune and you sit there and everybody would add in bed at the end. Well, if you want to understand like Republican policies, you just add four white people at the end, or 4 white Christians or white straight Christians, and that will tell you everything because when they say we want small government, 4 white Christians, right? Like we want it doesn't matter when it comes to the rest of us; they don't give a shit.
Well, it's interesting because I think there's a truth to that, to what I would call the village Republicans. The Florida village Republicans have that kind of attitude about them, the kind of Liberty University aligned upper middle class. That it's all the Mar-a-Lago crowd, kind of the people who are members or show up as friends of members. They rent the place because they have a friend who owns a membership, so they'll have weddings and parties there, and they show up in mass and embarrass the shit out of themselves. Every woman has aftermarket parts, and every man looks like the prime suspect in a true crime novel about a missing wife, and like all of exactly who I'm talking about. That group of people. That I think they absolutely believe that.
I do.
I think the Donald Trumps of the world.
I mean, it's white trash chic.
Yes, I think the Donald Trumps of the world actually don't give a rat fuck about. He's not a Christian. I think his alliance to whiteness is in his own personal racism. It has nothing to do with his actual belief system based on. It's not like he read the bell curve or some shit and was convinced or whatever. Even though he had Hitler's speeches on his nightstand, I don't think he fucking read them. I think it was there for clout. Stuff. I think it was there for clout. He was like, look what I got, I'm edgy, right? It's like an edgy comic. I don't need jokes. I could just make people uncomfortable. That's exactly what his shtick is. And I think a lot of times he just believes there's a superior class of humans on the planet. Kim Jong-un is one of them. MBS is one of them. Vladimir Putin is one of them, right? And then there are, people like, if you come up through a democracy, he doesn't necessarily think that of you. He doesn't think that of Macron. He doesn't think that of like Rishi Sunak or somebody like that, because that's just your ability to like bullshit people, or how stupid people are, they'll put you in charge, which is how he got to power, but he won't ever live up to that. But he believes that of Xi Jinping as well. And so he thinks there's this kind of, for all this talk of cabal, he believes he's part of that beyond race cabal. He's Jeff Goldblum in Deep Cover.
Yeah. He so badly wants to be a member of that crew. Because again, you see it all the time. Orban is so strong and he rules his country with an iron fist. And Xi is so tough and he knows how to run a country. And to him, who's a psychopath who has literally no compassion for any humans. So, it's a Genghis Khan type mentality. Like, it's a conquer what you can, take what you can, destroy what you can, and whatever the collateral damage is or purposeful damage, who cares? They're not on the same level as you. They're the little people. They're your servants. They're your,
right.
You're the people that rise to the top
Yeah, it's gone from the like the sort
Go
of
ahead, Hal.
it's gone from sort of the mid '80s idea of he who dies with the most toys wins to he who dies with the ninth stage of syphilis wins. Like this kind of hedonistic, uber rich depravity that they on the one hand envy and decry.
Yes, they decry it. They decry it in other people,
right?
And they use religion and it's to keep people in line and to threaten people, and they use other various cult-like methods for the same thing. But the key is that it's not just that what they're telling you to do doesn't apply to them. It's actually even more than that. It's a big fuck you to you. And that's what they want, to show that they're the strong leader in that, look, I can have 14 abortions if I want. You can't at all. I can go around and have 5 children with 3 wives, but you'd better follow the Bible. Like they're just, to them, the hypocrisy of it is what makes them better. Is that they can do whatever they want because they're like Greek gods in their view.
So there's two old sayings like in the South that being an elected politician gave you what was called a KMA card, a kiss my ass card, that you could, if you got pulled over, you could just go, I know the mayor, or whatever that was. You'd have that kiss my ass card, which was your its own form of like power bribe that you could get, and that was the whole purpose of it. And so clearly Trump seeks power for those particular reasons, even if he hasn't earned it. Sitting on the dais at a charity he's actually stealing from, much less never donated to, is a fabulous example of how he borrows that kiss my ass thing, because he could say, kiss my ass, I was on this, they gave me an award for this charity the other day. They don't give you awards for those kind of charities. Like, right, because I didn't pay for one, and I'm too busy actually volunteering, you dumb fuck. But on top of that idea that he feels like if you win in court because you deserve to win, who gives a shit? He actually does believe in our system. He does believe innocent people, for the most part, get released and the like. But he believes that if he gets released, he knows he's fucking guilty. So he believes the cool part, what makes him smart, is not winning on the merits, but cheating the system.
Right. That's what I mean. I think that is the dictator's mentality that all these guys take pride in, which is, I was up against all those other guys. I was sneakier. I was more vicious. You know, like what MBS did in Saudi Arabia, probably allegedly due to what Jared Kushner fed him, which was he knew all the people that were threats, and he had the night of the long knives, so to speak, where he went around and arrested them and tortured them and killed them. And like, to him, doing that, or what he did to Khashoggi, is like that. They take pride in that, because I mean that's like. Do you see, I don't even think it was that long after that there was some conference where you saw like Putin, who gave him a big smile, and they like slapped hands or something, like they're old brosifs in the same fraternity or something, because they are. It's like, oh yeah, you chopped a guy to pieces because he criticized you, huh? I normally go for the 5th floor balcony at a hotel, but I like your thinking, kind of thing. That's who these guys are.
And Trump, the interesting thing about him,
so that's who Trump wants to join. Yeah,
he desperately wants to be a part of that group, and yet he absolutely does not have the psychopathy or the intestinal fortitude to go through with it. He does not have the sort of strength of will of being a true psychopath the way these guys are. He's a low-end, pushy, sociopathic prick, but never to the point. He doesn't even fire the people he fires. In the White House, he handed off firing to other people. He didn't fire people on The Fucking Apprentice.
All of it,
because it scares him. Because it fucking scares him, right? And then in the other, the other aspect of this is that he also doesn't have the internal belief system, right? This, like the ethics or the racial purity ideology or any of that. He doesn't have any real internal compass that would make him do something like that for a purpose. Like, I'm killing this person because they're going to grow up to be Hitler, or I'm killing this person because, you know, our country's security, you know, it's meaningful to it. Like, 1-to-1. You know, Putin and Khashoggi can convince themselves that this person is trying to destroy my country, my rule, my family, whatever, and that can never happen, even if it costs me in the end, or I'm endangering myself. He would never fucking do that. He's too squeamish about it in the first place. But he also just has no internal compass at all.
Well, I mean, look, you know, he was more than happy to call all of his, you know, underlings, and it's not even underlings, it's much lower than that. All of the sort of, you know, the Morlocks, let's call them, of the MAGA movement. Like, he was happy to call them to go and bust down the walls and the windows and do all that stuff on January 6th while he watched it on TV. Like, that's who he is. Yeah. Get him. Go get him. Right.
Yeah, right. Chuck, jacking off and chucking
like
ketchup packets.
KFC grease, you know, and the rest. Right. Exactly. On his burnt fucking steaks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just such a, I mean, yeah, that's the thing is, like, he wants to be like these guys so badly. And again, it's the same deep insecurity that animated him when he was growing up in Queens. And, you know, to a wealthy family in Queens. My mom grew up in Queens and actually went to the same school as Trump. Was like a couple years older. Trump got kicked out and had to go to military school. Shocker. But he couldn't, like, Queens to him, he wasn't in Manhattan where all the glorious people were, the elites were, you know, the actors, the news anchors, the fashionistas, the whatever, and he wanted to be them. And over a period of time realized he had no discernible talent in anything to be somebody like that.
Right.
Not building buildings or doing anything else. He sucked at everything. So now it's more, he's found his new group of people he wants to be like, and those are mass murderers, but he doesn't have the guts to even to be like them.
Right. Well, he doesn't have he doesn't have the smarts or the intellect to be as financially conniving as the Madoffs around him, or even the Jeffrey Epsteins. Even though he's always, you know, I pointed this out, and I don't know why nobody notices this more often, but he was never more than a 10-minute cab ride from Jeffrey Epstein in the two places he calls home. You know, in New York and West Palm Beach. Like, they were neighbors, fucking neighbors. They shared multiple friends. Even after Epstein's, you know, quizzical ending in jail, he still wished Ghislaine Maxwell well, knowing that she was the woman that procured underage girls for him from the local high schools and stuff. Like, how do you not, like, fuck her? I don't care. Don't ask me about her. Like, once we found out what that dude was up to, I don't care how much money he's worth. That's how you answer it. Because people will with money and power.
How are you not repulsed by that?
Right.
And if you, especially, right. And if you have, I mean, again, to me, anybody who's not repulsed by it, there's something wrong with you. But it's a whole different level. I mean, if you have children, you know, like, I've got 2 boys, and, you know, if one of those fucking people even looked at them the wrong way,
oh my God,
you know, I'm ready to go ape shit. And I'm not acting like I'm some tough guy, or I'm not saying that. I'm just saying there's something different when it's your kids. If you're a normal human being that rises up in you, and you forget about your own safety, your own life, your own whatever, you're willing to do shit you wouldn't do for anybody else. And that this guy hung out with Epstein when he had a bunch of kids. Who the hell knows what even happened to his kids at Epstein parties? I don't think he knows or cares. You know, it's just, it's sick, really.
Right. And I've often said, and people know this about me, that if I don't have a lot of time and it's an acute circumstance, cinder block. If I have a lot of time, potato peeler. Those are my 2 solutions for people like that. That's why it's best not left up to me, and why I'm glad we have a judicial system. You get, if it's you and me alone in the.
I always, you know, I think that, you know. Well, I do think, though, Hal. I mean, and again, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I do think, you know, you do underestimate a good Iron Maiden or Drawn and Quartering, which can be fun too. So I agree, but maybe think about rotating those into, you know.
I think the only value of a drawn quartering is how much time you take and how like iffy the horses following your commands are. And so you could go like, I could tell these horses to run, but I don't know if they're going to listen. They might go at any time. So I wouldn't, and you know what
Maybe to make it worse, you just sort of tell them to trot a little bit. You know what I mean? Or maybe a slight canter.
They're all show ponies. They're all those show ponies that start doing this. You're like, it's I suppose
That's
the equivalent.
About. I'm getting into truly evil territory, but
well, to get into the equivalent of the ba-bum.
Go ahead.
Ba-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. That was the equivalent of the drawn quartering Jaws theme back then, was a slow trot in place. But point being is that I don't know how at a certain, you're forgiven if this is a curious, and this maybe leads back, and we're about 5 minutes to the bottom of the hour, and Tera is going to be joining us at the hour, and I want to thank you for being on the show as well. Remind everybody to read your stuff at that's on the Daily Beast, and to check out your book, The Real McCain, and also to follow Blue Amp Strategies. I think I'm getting that right. Yep, Blue Amp Strategies, and also.
Yeah, basically at C Schechter on YouTube. That's the best place. And then big rebranding going on today. So that's the only reason I'm not saying the other name. So
nice.
Go check it out.
Very exciting. Ahead. Okay, yeah, at C Schechter. I will subscribe today. Forget about it. Don't worry about it. So, but I guess this boils down to Trump can't quit Epstein the way Trump's followers can't quit him. And is there a mentality in that? And why we call it a cult along those ideas is that there's this idea of both. There's two roads in a cult. One is you truly believe and you've been hypnotized into this bullshit and you can't let it go. And then the other side is you can't admit you were suckered. Yeah. And your ego is so much more important to you than actually changing course and not participating in criminality and violence and horror that you just can't get off the fucking horse. You just cannot step back from it because you'll have to admit I was fucking dumb.
Yep. Yes. And I don't think there's going to be a lot of people. I think that's an undervalued, let's say, part of all this is I do think there are a lot of people that can't admit it, but maybe will not pull the lever for him, even if they don't for Biden. They don't want to admit it out loud, like, oh my God, I voted for him once, or I voted for him twice, or, whatever it is. But like they realize at this point, with all the trials, with everything, how utterly repulsive he is. I don't know why it took so long.
Yeah.
But to answer even what you were saying earlier is I think, he's stuck with Epstein because I think he sees Epstein in the same amoral way he sees those dictators, which is, look, he was a success. Look at how long he got away with this, and he brought in all these kids and did what he wanted to do and had sex with all these hot women, no matter what age they were. Or honestly, the sick part of Trump respects that, I think.
Right.
So that's why.
And on a final note, your thoughts. I know I will have my own, and I will share them in the next hour, no doubt, as we look at some Trumpish stuff with Tera. But your thoughts on the chance of him actually spending a couple hours in jail in a holding cell because he breaks the gag order again?
So as I've told you, I've told people before, I'll say quickly, as optimistic as I am on the election, which is through the roof, is as pessimistic as I am about our legal system at this point, because they've never proven they'll do a goddamn thing. They threaten him, they threaten him, they threaten him. They tell him he's going to pay money, but down the line, I don't have optimism. He will spend time in jail. I would love it. It is, well past time. But I don't, because I just think these judges, like so many other people, are cowed by a former president of the United States and are too scared to do it. But I hope I'm wrong.
Right.
I hope I'm wrong.
My concern is and will always be that a lot of these decisions are being made because they fear of a maggot version of mob justice. That too many people's lives are on the line, and the value of throwing this dumb fuck in jail may be secondary to the fact that it may get somebody killed. Some random asshole might shoot up the Cincinnati FBI office again because of this, and you weigh that against it. That's the only reason. Right. And he knows it. That's why he keeps goading these people on Truth Sinkhole to like show up and fight back, and you're gonna have to lift up your voice or they're gonna kill me. You know, that kind of shit that in his emails.
Right. But it's exactly, you're exactly right, of course. But I will say that it's still, we're at a point where obviously, I mean, don't want anybody innocent to die, don't want any FBI office shot up, don't want anything horrible to happen. But again, when you get to the point, it's like giving in, when people have hostages, when you give in to somebody, when they threaten like that, and you start saying, well, we don't want any trouble, so we're not going to do it, that's when you lose. Because now he knows he can make those threats all the time, and you're going to back off. I'm sorry, increase security at places, do what you need to do, but if the man breaks the fucking law and breaks gag orders, he must go to prison like any other person, or we're not the country we claim to be.
I agree. And I think one of the biggest problems with the way we talk about this is that in the media, when everybody's discussing him being reprimanded by the judge, they use phrases like he's being treated like a dog. They made him sit like a dog. They're, and he's not. He's being treated like the rest of us would be treated, which to Trump is like being treated like a dog, or I guess Kristi Noem is like being treated like a dog, but in reality, that's their view of us. For all this talk about elites, they don't believe they should be treated like the rest of us. That's the bottom. That's how they know the end is nigh, and that they're gonna, that they're being pushed out in powers, that they get treated like the rest of us. Ew. Cliff Schechter, thank you so much for being on the show. I look forward to hanging out with you in Cincinnati this summer. I got news for you, my friend. It's going to happen. Hold on. I lost audio on you for 1 second. 1 second. Why is that? Hold on.
Band, did you
speak
lose
again?
me?
Yes, there you go. Sorry. Say again.
Oh, am I here? I was going to say, I've got I told you I've got a talented lead singer of a rock band. You were given some advice when I was talking to you in Minneapolis and we met. And for that reason, he's going to be going to college in a year. We may want to go out and look at some places in LA. So it may be a home and away, hang at your place, hang at my place kind of thing.
I'm for it. 100%.
We're in.
Thank you so much.
Good to see you.
And Cliff Schechter's YouTube channel is at C Schechter, SCHECTER. And he's got a C on the front of it as well. So the link is in the chat, so everybody can find it in there. Please subscribe to his channel. We're a rising tide that lifts all boats here at Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. So if it's no skin off your nose to subscribe to a bunch of channels, so that they help build up this, especially in an election year, and especially over the course of the next 10-year plan of building on the Democratic wins that Biden has laid out, and that we're going to continue to grow on to the point. It's not going to be an easy fight codifying Roe as law. So we got to get the votes. We got to get the voter convinced, and we've got to make sure that people show up consistently, so that we don't put a rug under women and pull it out every fucking 10 years. And other than that, I have no opinion. Cliff, thank you so much for being on. Appreciate it. Thanks so much. Yep. Cheers.
My pleasure, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. There he goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Cliff Schechter. Also, appreciate it, brother. And I'm going to grab the link for our dear friend Tera Dublin. And they can see each other in the background in this situation, I think, and chat amongst each other, but not at this point. Hello. And I'll get audio for her in a second. That's it. By the way, while we're at this, hit that like if you would. Helps me out immensely and lets people know that the show exists and is here. So that's always valuable. And then, there you go. And I'll paste you in there. And then we are going to have this, take this out. And then we'll get the Tera title on there in just a moment. Yeah, it'll be good. Okay. Excellent. The irony is, well, here we go. Let's see if we can get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, there she is. Tera Dublin rocks. How are you? Hello.
I'm great. There's someone in your chat who's not happy that it's Monday and I'm here, though. I saw that right before I signed on.
Oh, that's what trolls
like,
are for.
It's Tara. Blah. Well, don't watch. Bye.
Right. Yeah. Super easy.
No one's making you watch Janoon. No one's making you watch me. Nobody.
I will say this. I will say
why
this,
do you
Tara.
still wearing the Nope shirt today? It's just I'm not
Yes.
having it.
Well,
Not having it.
I don't know if you can see. Hold on, because I have my little thing of stuff in front of my chest.
All your
But
stuff and things.
yeah, my stuff and things, which I will move over out of the way over here. Can you see what my shirt says? I don't know if you can. It says,
Okay, it's very hot pink against brown is kind
yeah,
of
that's it's not my design choice. That was the design choice of the Bridgetown Comedy Festival.
Ah, look at that. And so
this is my
what do it say?
Yeah, it says Bridgetown Comedy Festival. That's all it says. And
Okay,
then it's got
great.
then it's got the sponsors on the back. This kind of business.
You wore that for me, didn't you?
I
Oh,
did.
that's so
Yes.
cool. That's
I did.
great.
Yeah, there you go.
That's great.
See? And
Time to bring that back.
right. That's part of the strategy. We will make that happen. Yeah.
For sure.
Excellent. And okay,
We're all good? Can people
yeah,
hear
we're good.
me and see me?
Yep. Just checking audio,
Okay.
and we're all good. I'm just making sure. That
Great.
said, great. How are you this fine day, by the way? Did you get to see? Well, we'll start with the weekend. How are you?
To see what? Did I get to see what?
No, it'll wait. It'll wait. You were in the mid thought.
A good weekend. I want you to know this entire weekend I just kind of cocooned at home because the weather was miserable here, and I sought comfort from television.
Okay.
I didn't really do a whole lot.
Let me tell you, that's great. Let me tell you, that's the whole point. You want to tell me? There is no greater example of the success of the Biden presidency in that people do not even realize how much normal they are getting back to. Holy shit!
It's so great.
Yesterday,
so nice to be
Summer
able to
and I
do that.
watched the Dallas Golden Knights game, the final playoff game for the Stanley Cup, and it was down to the wire, and it was and Dallas won, and which is fine, whatever. But it was a great game. It was a great series. It was 3-3. They were tied, and then whoever won that game was gonna win for the. I mean, all like shit from the 70s was happening, like literally just sports on television, rooting for it. It's great.
Slapshot.
Yes, right. You go into the booth and you feel shame. And anyways, watching it, I have to say, it is done. The last game was in Dallas, and it was fucking packed. That whole arena for a hockey game in Dallas to be completely fucking packed for playoff games. Now, again, because of the playoffs, everybody cares about their team. Don't get me started on Seattle's Emerald City. When the Seahawks, were in the Super Bowl.
Room on the bandwagon during playoffs. Come on.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. The bandwagon expands, right? And
sure
so
does. It gets a few extra rows for the Johnny and Jill come latelys.
That's right. And I'm fine with that.
If you stay.
Yes. So the reality of all these maggots, and I guarantee there were Biden voters in that crowd at the Dallas hockey game. But by and large, 80-20, I'm going to just go with the idea, since it's Dallas and hockey at the same time, that the majority of those people, if you pin them down, would view themselves as Republican at very least, and certainly Trump voters if you talk to them directly, unless they're too fucking embarrassed, right? That said, all of them are shelling out $175 minimum for a fucking hockey ticket if they got it early a long time ago, much less the last game of the series before in the playoffs. I mean, hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars for booths, food, all like the fucking tailgating and all this shit. All this normal life that they are happily just shelling out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for, and every one of them is watching fucking Fox going, yeah, inflation, yeah, inflation is Biden inflation is a Biden inflation. Fuck
We was better
off.
4 years ago when I couldn't buy no toilet paper and I was injecting the bleach. 4 years ago was so much better.
It was so much better. I was better off when there were riots in the streets and no vaccine. That was what we were dreaming.
And no jobs. And then people couldn't work.
Right. I didn't want to work.
Right.
It gave us.
People were
You don't have to. You have to understand there, Tara, that I'm projecting my laziness onto the poor and the inner city black folks. And then when I had a chance for that laziness to come up, it was the greatest time of my life. So
see, you know what's so great? What's so great is exactly what you're saying, and this is the sign of a functioning American economy is people going out and enjoying themselves and
Mm-hmm.
people being able to take recreational time without thinking twice about it, without saying it's either we go to the hockey game or we pay the rent.
Right.
They're able to do both. Thank
Yes.
you, Joe Biden, for turning around the economy after a global pandemic. Joe
Mm-hmm.
Biden did that. Donald Trump got us there. Joe Biden got us out of it. If you don't want to believe me, you don't have to believe me. You can look at the official White House record, except it comes from the White House, so they'll think it's fake news. I don't know where you put these stats to make them believe it. Even when Fox News reports on an accurate jobs report that just came out, and we just added 175,000 new jobs. Now, maybe that's not the same amount of jobs as in the previous month, but he's still putting up
He's still adding jobs.
job numbers
Right.
every single month of his presidency, every single month. And where are we right now? Almost to the second term. So again, the track record he can put up is longer than what we could put up on the screen if you put columns in like this. You could fill the screen with his accomplishments, similarly like you could with Donald Trump's crimes. So, and if you put them side by side, the list of accomplishments keeps going, and everything that you're enjoying. The Infrastructure Act, the CHIPS Act, all of those things.
I think you've stumbled on something particularly brilliant, as per usual. I think, hold on, boink, there she is. I got to put your title up on the screen so people know it's you. By the way, that's the Portland flag in her little icon there. I'm just letting you know. Portland has a flag. So, that because I couldn't fit a burning crater in there and people wouldn't know what it was. It would just look like it looked like a hemorrhoid ad. But the important thing is, and I think you're really onto this in this particular instance, is that I think one of the best ways to sell Trump v. Biden this fall will be put 91 Biden wins right next to 91 Trump indictments, crimes.
I know. I did that.
Like
I've done that in tweets. Yeah. We'll keep doing it though.
But I mean a graphic that we can send out on the regular, like a bang graphic. Yeah, 91 to 91. And tonight we're gonna party like it's 1991.
Now, but still. The point is Joe Biden's numbers and Donald Trump's numbers don't align. Donald Trump has 4 arrests on his record. Joe Biden doesn't.
Yep.
So you can put that up. You can put that up if you want a stat, something that Donald Trump has more of than Joe Biden. Arrests, he's got that. Charges against him, felony charges against him, hours accumulated sitting in a courtroom. Donald Trump has way more of those than Joe Biden does. You want to be proud of that? It's ridiculous. And again, you and I have also touched on this. At some point, I think that they realized that what Trump was, but they're so invested and they're so in love with their hate and they so enjoy their trolling activities. Like how much time and years have they invested in Donald Trump, this behavior, this negative behavior that continues to get rewarded either with our attention or the media attention, or they get validated with the way Trump behaves and it's mirrored back to them. But like right before you and I signed on, trolls are now migrating to Substack. They're going to Substack and they're finding our stuff on Substack now, which is interesting because they don't tend to read anything longer than a tweet. Right. So it's interesting. They're finding our Substacks now and trolling us there and leaving under. I wrote a Substack called "The GOP is a Death Cult." They really don't like that. They don't like us pointing out the truth about who they are to them. Yeah. That's how I have all of those MAGA blocks. It's not from just plain old insults or going after somebody's looks, which is what MAGA does. They have the nerve to insult what I look like. What if I put up pictures of my friends? If I put up pictures of my son and his girlfriend? If I put up pictures of my cats? It really doesn't matter. They're taking their Twitter behavior and their Gab behavior over to Substack. And so
well, and that's a panic. That's a panic for what's his name for Elon Musk, because that was one of his big concerns. Yeah.
Right. And they don't have anything substantive. They can't say, well, look at Donald Trump's list of accomplishments, or look at what Trump did for you, or look at this and look. They don't have anything. So instead, they just call you a libtard, crazy cat lady. They're bringing back the R word. A lot of them think I'm the R word now, which is super. You can add that to my bingo, my MAGA bingo card. That's
good. That's all right. Hey, collect them all, I say.
But here's the thing.
I certainly run into that.
That's right. But that's all they have. So all they have is weak trolling and name calling. Like, what do you think? What do you think you're gonna do by calling me a libtard? Ooh, or insulting me because I'm single? Ooh, or I have cats? Wow, or your anti-Semitism, or your bullshit empty trolling. What do you think you're doing? What kind of flex do you think this is? It's so fucking stupid. And I can mute you and I can block you, and it's like you never existed. And I'll forget about you the second I do it. It makes no impact on my life. I'm not going to change my vote. You're not changing my political belief system. And trolling me doesn't make Donald Trump any less guilty. Maybe makes you feel better about blocking an adjudicated rapist who's a quadruple parolee. And right now, Michael Cohen is fucking sinking him even deeper. Every moment of testimony between Pecker and Hope Hicks. Hope Hicks could cry her fucking Ralph Lauren model eyes out on the stand as much as she wants. Doesn't change any of the truth she told. Doesn't change a word. Pecker, Hicks, Cohen, forget it. And then when Stormy gets up there, Karen McDougal gets up there, you guys have fucking nothing. You're embarrassed and you're ashamed. So you're piling on us like it's our fucking
Well, see, I would go with I would go they're embarrassed, yes. Shame they are incapable of feeling, because shame is an actual there's depth to that.
Damn.
Yeah.
The fact is that there are people walking around wearing t-shirts saying diapers over Democrats because we make fun of the fact that Donald Trump is walking around with a loaded diaper at all times, and he's passing gas that can't even be described in court. It's embarrassing. So what do they have to do? They have to try to embrace everything that's terrible about him and try to make it cool. A mugshot, not cool unless you're Johnny Cash. Loaded diaper, never cool. Never once cool. Never been cool to be an adult with a sitting in your own shit. Falling asleep in front of the jury, absolutely nothing. I was resting my beautiful blue eyes. Your eyes are not beautiful. Are they blue? I couldn't tell you because they're so puffy. You haven't slept in years. His puffy lizard eyes and those wonderful.
Well, that Summer pointed that out this morning. So Summer pointed that out this morning. Like, she doesn't normally watch this stuff or whatever, but they had the whole like waiting for him to walk in thing, and her big kind of thing on, because she already has made her decision, like a lot of smart women in this world, that she knows how she's voting this fall, and so she doesn't even have to chase this shit down, because and it just adds crap to her day if she has to do. But they had it on MSNBC, and they show that moment when he walks in, which I have up on screen right now, and I think, can you hear that? I don't know if you can hear. Okay.
Well, they're certainly not playing Hail to the Chief, are they?
No, it's just a little bit of walking noise. Let me make sure.
Mr. Trump, is Michael Cohen a liar? Are you going to testify?
I have a gag order as to that first question. As you know, they've taken away my constitutional rights, so I'm not allowed to answer that question.
They haven't taken shit away from you, you fucking asshole.
Yeah. The first question the guy yelled was, "Is Michael Cohen a liar?" And he goes, "That's where that's a setup question." Just saying for the record, that's a setup question. That's his people there trying to trigger him to give this response because they believe this is a good selling point. So somebody there is supposed to sell that question. It's like what's her name? Jeanette Rion or whatever, from like OAN, who was at these weird Trump rallies. She was the first person to ask him a couple of questions at a Trump rally a while, in the 2016 campaign, and then turned out to be Chanel Rion. Remember that? She was there to ask him specific fucking questions, right? About that shit.
Right.
And they're doing the exact same thing. So his lawyers and everybody, the campaign largely, I think, are setting up people there who will ask him the right question and keep him on message. And it's not working, but that's what they're doing.
So fucking pathetic. This
whole
thing is pathetic, right? And what I love is how everyone, Glenn Kirshner wrote about it, and a lot of other people pointed it out that he's, or who was it? I forgot. I might be crediting the wrong person. Well, Lawrence O'Donnell also did this too, talking about how he's technically already sort of in jail because he has to sit still all day and he can't talk and he can't get up and move around and he can't yell to Walt Nauta to bring him a thousandth Diet Coke.
Right?
And he can't go talk to the press now either in the way that he wants, and he can't fear shard all over Truth Social in all caps like he wants to. So really what he's reduced to now is trying to martyr himself as much as he can to continue the grift from the MAGA base. And now he has 10 contempt charges against him. 10. If you or I had one against us, we'd be in jail right now. 10 is just, it's egregious. It's egregious that he's
I gotta say, I'm very excited. I'm at the idea that he's gonna, the judge is running out of patience.
Does he have a punch card? He's like 10 punch, like a punch card for how many times he can be in contempt. So he has 10, and then the 11th one is the one that gets him in there. I don't know. And the judge is saying to him, I don't want to be the judge that jails a former president. Go right ahead. Please do. Please seal your legacy in American history, Judge Merchan, because if you do, you'll get so much respect from all of us who have been screaming for something that resembles accountability.
But that, and again, I mentioned this to Cliff.
Not enough, though.
I mentioned this to Cliff when we were talking earlier, but I think the judge is weighing this against the violence that may be carried out by his supporters. And they deal with this shit.
Blah, 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 blah. You can't do that. You can't rule.
Well, you can argue that that's what gave us Waco. One of the problems with Waco was that they could have arrested that motherfucker, David Koresh specifically, when he was in town at one point. There was this moment where they were like, he's right there. He's got 3 of his dickhead buddies with him. They might be armed, but they're at least not where they can hunker down in this giant fucking facility that we know they are storing grenades in. So let's grab them now. And then they didn't get the go-ahead. And because they didn't get that go-ahead, it led to this big fucking giant standoff. And there's a similar kind of weight that's being layered against this. And by the way, they make sure that exists. The Branch Davidians did it. The fucking Manson family did it, you know, cutting the dude's ear off and sewing it back on with dental floss and all that. You wanted people to be afraid of you so that they don't act normally in those situations. And the guy shooting up the Cincinnati FBI office and other people like that, and Jan 6th certainly, is the reason why the judge isn't so quick on the trigger with this stuff. And I think the first thing that's going to... Yeah.
1, 2, you want to be a little cautious. That's fine. 3, 4, he's pushing you. 5, 6, 7.
He's over 10.
He's like, it's like when Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd fight and they're making the line in the sand and then you cross that and then you're over the cliff. Let's go. He's over the cliff. Let's go. And
well, he's hit the 10 mark. He's hit the 10 mark. And there are 2 rules in social acceptability. One, for comedy, many people know, is the rule of 3. That the presumption is that after 2 in a row, you expect the third to be like it. And if it isn't, that makes you laugh or feel weird. And so the presumption of 3, the rule of 3. Monty Python, if you study Monty Python, there's also the rule of 3, 5, 7, 9, 15, and 21. I could teach a whole fucking class on that at some point. But it's
eggs, bacon, and spam.
And spam.
Spammity spam.
Right. That would be an example of the 21 rule, where you're looping 3s until you get 7 jokes out of the same one, and then it becomes angrily tiresome, and then you hit it again. It's a great way to do it.
Parrot sketch is a great example.
Yes, another example of that. Yes. Although that comes in 3s as well, because if you'll notice, there's it's a denial, acceptance, which is the standard rule of 3. The writing is so fucking precise. The other one is the rule of 10. In our society, even though we have rejected the metric system, we do have a rule of 10. Once you get outside a top 10 list, these go to 11. There's a joke aspect of going past 10 on something unnecessarily. And so the fact that this motherfucker, he gave him a break. I think the choice, and it was a decision, to give him 9 instead of 10 out of the 14 in the original contempt trial, contempt charges, was an actual decision on behalf of the judge, which is like, Here you go. You get that's strike one. If I give you one more, that's strike two. Strike three, you go to fucking the holding cell all day while the trial's going on. And we'll put a fucking camera in there and you can see what's happening.
Ooh,
and you can sit in there.
So great.
And wait, and this will be the best part. You will leave the room through the side door. People will report on it, and there will be a drawing, but nobody's going to see you fucking walking out the door on video that they can use. You're not going to be able to exploit that. That's not going to work that way.
Accordion performances for you today.
Right. And then like I said, people will talk about it. There'll be drawings, but it will not be on film and you will not be cuffed. And there won't be a fucking camera in the cell that they'll ever get to see. And there'll be a little intake form that they'll show on screen, but it won't be him. And you're like, yesterday I had to sit in a cell, which gotta say was warmer than the courtroom. Like, there's no way.
Courtroom isn't cold.
It isn't. But you know what I'm saying?
Reported the courtroom's not freezing.
Yes. He's
fucking
just
baby. He's such a fucking baby. And by the way, no one's protesting outside the courthouse either. If there are ever shots outside the courthouse, there's like two guys with a Trump flag yelling at everybody.
Paid lunatics.
So when we have also talked about this extensively on your show, how they love to do use intimidation to do 99% of the heavy lifting for them because they're mostly scared about. I mean, I would say that your average Trump supporter doesn't particularly want to go to prison. I'm guessing.
Yes.
I'm guessing that. And therefore, they're going to keep their activism to their mom's basements and trolling us and doing.
We shall see what we shall see. Hold on, I'm going to make it bigger.
Case, and make me bigger.
There you are. Sorry.
So, this hesitance to hold him accountable because you're afraid of how his base will respond is ridiculous.
Right.
And there needs to. I mean, nobody's got a crystal ball, right? And no one can predict. And we've also, there's a lone wolf, a rogue person, one guy or two or three guys who's going to try to do something. But if you don't think everybody's being watched and listened to right now who are high profile MAGA supporters, come on. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was part of, I think part of the like rounding up some of the Jan 6ers is specifically to make sure that during this shit, increasingly, the FBI is going, you know what, we might have given some of these motherfuckers a pass. But because Trump is on trial, they're getting more riled up, and we might need to have them do some time, whereas we might have given them an ankle monitor if we weren't worried that they would pop off again, or they didn't have an impetus to pop off again, or they didn't have a reason to fucking wind up. So they need to do the time they've deserved. We're not giving them a pass this time so that we can ride this out. Because by the time they get out of jail in 4 or 5 years, Trump is no longer an issue. And these motherfuckers have to come out and try to defend their values, not the guy. And because he'll have already be a shitty mess.
What values are those? And it's,
there are none.
And again, he's not going to win this trial.
No.
There is so much
evidence
against him, and he knows it. Which is why he's already talking about losing this election, why he's already laying the groundwork, why he's essentially begging now to be thrown in jail for contempt because it's his only way out now, right? He can martyr himself from behind bars and continue the grift from there. Mm-hmm. At the same time, the GOP is really going to need to figure their shit out because do you really want a convicted felon as your nominee, really? I don't really care what the blackmail is or what you promised Daddy Vladdy or whatever. That's going to be your nominee, a convicted felon who's sitting in prison, who can't go out and campaign, who's then facing other trials. The trial in Florida is supposed to start in 2 weeks, and this one's not even finished yet. And then there's still January 6th, and then there's still the stolen documents one. There's still January 6th to do also. And it's just, it never stops. This is endless. So again,
it's kind of
the people
who are lovely
people
though.
who are good with the Photoshop skills and the editing skills. If you can do what Hal asked earlier and give us a usable meme with a whole bunch of Biden accomplishments,
I'll do it today.
Next to Trump's charges, make that something that's usable and shareable. Because honestly, how do you defend someone who is that much of a criminal? How do you put him up as the face of your party? How do you say this is the future of the Republican Party? This is the future of America? Really? Is the future of America JP Styles, the kid who made monkey noises at
Yeah.
Ole Miss? That's
Yeah.
that's not the future of the country I'm living in. No,
Right.
it's not. And is the future of our country putting dog murderers as a presidential nominee? No, it's not.
Not
It's
anymore.
not. When you've lost Laura Loomer, you've really lost
Oh,
somebody,
yeah.
Agatha Christie.
Yep.
I'd also like to say that I wrote my own book, and so if there's something in my book that you don't like, I'm not going to blame it on my ghostwriter. I'll take all
Right.
full responsibility. But the puppy in The Sound of Settling does not die.
Oh, that's
Spoiler
a
alert.
spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Puppy. There's a sweet, adorable black lab puppy in The Sound of
Aw.
Settling. His name is Bonzo. His name is Bonzo after John Bonham. And he lives
Aw.
all the way to the end of this book and lives all the way through the sequel, too, because I'm not a dog murderer.
I gotta say, I have to say,
about meeting Kim Jong Un. I stared down Kim Jong Un. You know, I did it yesterday.
yeah,
Here.
full
The fuck, and then blame
full
your
disclosure.
ghostwriter, even though you read your own book on tape.
Well, it's the inversion of Trump, right? He claims he wrote everything that his ghostwriter wrote, even though everybody knows he had a ghostwriter and he wasn't anywhere near the writing of or the deal. So when I was in Philly for Sexy Liberal, which was a great time, and Madison's coming up, followed by Albuquerque, Albuquerque. There was near the hotel. Yeah, near the hotel. Over by the only convenience store that was open 24 hours. So that's where I had to walk to get provisions because my body clock and my timing when I'm on tour is so wonky. Was an animal shelter where like a no-kill, like adoption center kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And in the front window was this lovely like pit mix, white dog, brown and like light brown and dark brown spots, just a couple of them. Female, just laying there, just doing this the whole time. And I can't get her out of my head. I hope she gets a good home. And but I was like,
if anyone's in Philly, go get that sweet baby girl. It kills me that anybody, cruelty to animals is like, that's serial killer
there are people there's people taking care of that dog. She was warm and sweet in the window, clearly, trying to get her placed with a family or whatnot, and she was selling it, baby. But by God, just like that dog's face has been haunting me since Philly. I'm like, I want to go back and get the doggy.
Human being, because you have basic decency.
I want to go get the doggy.
Go get the doggy. Go get her.
I can't. I got 5 cats. It'll probably shake all of them and eat the fat one.
Oh, no, you can't. No, you can't do that. See, and I'm the same. I mean, Duke and Maxine would never tolerate a puppy.
No.
Plus, I would never put a puppy in this apartment. If I ever had a house with a backyard, then I could think about it. But in any case, when I get a house with a backyard, I may consider a dog, but even so, the cats would never tolerate. In any case, if you derive pleasure from torturing animals or other human beings, you're a sick fuck, and I don't want you in my White House. And that's basically how it goes. And if you look at the history of the GOP, they are a death cult. They claim to be pro-life, but they love posing with dead animals. How many times have we seen Don Jr. and Eric with the dead leopards and the dead elephants because they're so proud of killing?
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Huckabee's son killed a dog, and Mitt Romney tied his dog to the roof, and Lauren Boebert probably shot one of her dogs. They all hate dogs. They all hate them, and I don't know why. Dogs are so sweet and so loving, and they just all they want is affection and love. But
I think she's just a cruel
evil and
monster, and she's got silly putty and marzipan injected into her face or something. No.
Well, that's another thing. I mean, look at her craven ambition to the point where, first of all, she had an affair with Corey Lewandowski. So if fucking one of his staffers didn't get her in good with him, then she turns her face into like if Alina Habba and Ivanka mated in some way.
And on the table at Eric Bowling's esthetician's office. Just that like squinty, puffy. Yeah. Like their face has been beaten.
And she tells that story about staring down Kim Jong Un. The only Kim she'll stare down is Guilfoyle because neither of their faces move now. And they're like, what did you do? I don't know. What did you do? I don't know. It's insanity. Mar-a-Lago was such a fucking freak show. Every single time there's footage from Mar-a-Lago, there's some woman who just reinflated her lips to the point where it's like Goldie Hawn in the First Wives Club.
Yeah.
And they're all wearing push-up cheetah print crap with cutouts, and the the tanned, wrinkly, freckled cleavage, and everything is big, 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 big. It's so tacky.
It's
They
very tacky.
revel in their tackiness, and they revel in
It's
how much they love their hate. It's just, it's so gross. It's so
yeah.
gross. And that
Uh,
you enjoy bullying people. They enjoy piling up on people who are good at heart and kind and decent human beings like Joe
what are you
Biden
saying?
is.
You're not saying it doesn't look natural? Are you saying it doesn't look natural? Something unnatural about
Come on
this? Is
now.
that what you're saying? That it doesn't look natural?
Here's what I'll say. There's nothing wrong with enhancing your appearance if it makes you feel better about yourself.
Thank
I
you.
would not. Look, I just turned 55. I'm not above. I would get filler here. I would get filler like in the parentheses. But I would never let anyone tell me to change my entire appearance. I would never
Mm-mm.
change the way I act, look, dress
No,
to get in
sister.
good with somebody else. I
Girlfriend.
didn't do that in high school, and I'm not going to do it now.
But there's so much
So-
you can do. There's so much you
Oh my
can do.
God. I can always look like I'm going to my own surprise party.
The Botox is yet to come out of my face. I can't blink.
Honestly,
Blinking is
Jill
impossible.
Boyle was so
Help!
pretty. She was so pretty when she was married to Studley Newsome. Wow. Wow. You know, you kind of look like Caitlyn now. A little bit. A little Caitlyn Jenner vibe going on. A little bit.
Yeah, it's a thin line.
Wow. So anyway, the point
That was
being,
terrifying.
the
Right.
abnormalcy of what anytime we're talking about Trump world, we're shining a light on the abnormalcy. The fact that Michael Avenatti is chasing clout from Trump now is like
Yeah.
full circle. We have come full circle. It's 2016 all over again. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we get you got
2018 all
Blagojevich. You
over
got
again.
anybody who used to be on our side. I mean, he's going to get Menendez next, right? He's that's
welcome to him.
yeah. He can have him.
Menendez.
Yeah.
We don't want him. We don't want him. And
Fucking
we certainly don't
Quaylar
want
in Texas.
RFK.
Knock yourself
We
the
don't
fuck
want
out.
Bobby
Bye-bye.
Kennedy. We don't want Bobby Kennedy
Yeah.
either. They don't want to call him RFK Jr. anymore.
We
Now
don't
they
want
want to
that
call him
anymore.
Bobby.
Oh God, this is
I'm
terrifying.
not calling him Bobby. He's, oh my God.
Welcome
And
to
now, right
Mar-a-Lago. Sorry.
There's a sponsored ad from some crazy pack that made a documentary about RFK Jr. and they put out a tweet, who's Bobby Kennedy? And so I replied with, RFK Jr. is a crazy anti-vaxxing who's disowned by his Democratic family, and his wife sucks too, because Cheryl blocked me on Twitter. So
Well,
you
sure.
suck, Cheryl Hines. I'm so disappointed in Cheryl Hines. Like every so often, something will happen and you're like, oh no, really? Like when The Rock was like, I could vote for Trump. He's just the same as Biden. What? No, Mr. The Rock. That is not true. And we've lost The Rock. And I mean, that's sad. That's just sad.
They can have The Rock. We've got Reacher. I'm just saying.
Oh, we do have Reacher, and we have Stephen King, and we have The Force with us.
Yes.
Did you see them trying? Did you see the NRC trying to appropriate images of Darth Vader when we literally have Mark Hamill in the White House with Joby-Wan Kenobi?
Yep.
He called him Joby-Wan Kenobi, which
I love it.
I love Mark Hamill so much. And
Pulse
we're
will be
so
with you,
lucky.
always.
Actually with us.
Right.
And like look at who they have versus who we have, and it's like
I'm
have
good.
evil hee-haw,
right?
And we have the Force.
They've got the
just made that up.
They got Dennis Miller. I like it. They've got evil hee-haw is it would be terrible. They got Dennis
Joe
Miller.
Rogan.
They've got Lee Greenwood, Joe Rogan. They've got John Voight. They've got Who?
Roseanne.
Roseanne. Absolutely. She's clearly evil hee-haw territory. That's right. That works.
Scott Baio, Antonio Sabato, Jercules, Kevin Sorbo.
Right. That's the problem. Our dear friend Matthew Marsden, who is on the Blaze on the regular now. James Woods, right? Kid Rock.
James Woods.
Yeah.
Kid Rock. Ew. It's like just the geo, and then there was that picture the other day. It was like Ronnie Jackson was in Colorado with Lauren Boebert for some reason, and they posted this really awkward photo of the two of them where it's like her choppers are this big, And I tweeted that it was like, this photo is like if American Gothic was an ad for Valtrex. So they're
That's good. It's rock
She's
solid.
an untapped writing gold mine.
She is. Yeah, you're going to be so disappointed when she gets kicked to the curb. Yeah, it sounds exciting. So let's.
My own book. There's no ghost writing murder. No ghost writer is murdering dogs in this book, which is available right now at TeraDublinRocks.com. And you can all go fuck yourselves for making fun of me for being proud of selling 670 books, because I did.
Not at all.
And that includes almost selling out my the whole stock at Powell's.
All right.
Powell's has to reorder books.
That's great.
There. This doesn't have any politics in it, not really. So anybody who wants to talk to me about my book, I'm happy to talk to you about my book, but just know that it has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Yeah, and
because
it shouldn't.
Right?
But normal life doesn't. And we're almost done with this motherfucker. We are almost.
It's a rock and roll love story.
We are. You know that period on a cross country trip where you saw a sign that said "last gas station," before forever, and your tank's on E, and you're out of snacks, and it's 107 degrees, but you have to turn off the air conditioning because you don't want to use up gasoline to get past that order. That's the Trump era. And what's up ahead is a cool light rainstorm and a gas station with a charging station attached, and a restaurant and a sit down and a local little area where you can buy knickknacks from the locals and the tribal people that come down to sell stuff. And
come on down.
Life is so good after Trump is fucking done. So let's continue this part. I want you to notice something.
Demise in real time is delightful. By
the way. Watch this.
This country before, it's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous case. I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Take a look at Greg Jarrett this morning. He went on. Take a look at Andrew McCarthy or Jonathan Turley or Mark Levin. It's like they say there's no case here.
Oh. I love when he gets Jim Ignatowski face.
My compromised lawyer. Ask my compromised friends; they'll tell you I'm innocent.
I gave up drugs for $1.75. What am I, nuts?
My diaper's so loaded that it's backing up in my throat.
Yeah. There's no case.
My breath is like this.
That is the desperation of a man who knows he's fucked. Now watch.
Oh, done, you guys. How do you look at that and be like, "That's my guy"?
Yeah.
What a man. So surprised.
Oh, wait. It gets better.
Full of energy.
The sundowning has started at sunup today.
And yet the judge is gagging me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted. And
conflicted.
The judge, you didn't hear it. The judge is totally conflict. What's not to understand?
Conflict. I don't know. Talking about the judge like that is another.
The judge is totally conflict. He is.
I can't talk about it because
he conflict have conflict. He total conflict have to have. He so has the total conflict.
That puckered orange anus mouth can't form a complete sentence. It just can't. He doesn't sleep. He only sleeps in court.
Yeah.
And I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted.
By the way, if you'll notice, he says totally conflicted instead of totally conflicted. I'm just saying, I mean, I wouldn't give a shit if he didn't always go, I have the best words. Once you come up and you say, I have the best words, all bets are off. I get to fuck with you until you go, you know what? That whole best words thing, I got a little out over my skis with that one. Even Robin Williams, bless his heart, one of the greatest things about his improvised bits and the mixture of written bits and improvised bits that he would do in live stand-up is that sometimes he would do, I have rented lips. What I was saying to is, or whatever. He would just own it. Own the flub. Yeah. It's okay. Right. Everybody flubs. Nobody gets out of this life without a fucking flub.
This can't, though.
He can't.
He
fucking cannot.
Second.
He's totally conflicted. He's Connolly protracted.
Is this from
this morning?
This is from this morning. So then and I don't know, the other thing that he's doing now when he leaves court is trying to find any photo op possible to try to make himself look better.
Oh yeah.
So he went to like on Friday,
Friend
went
of
to
the people.
firehouse and brought them pizzas, but it turns out the pizzas had already been delivered. We're sitting in a stack, hidden away. We're ice cold, just waiting for him to use the photo op. And so, who paid for those pizzas? Who sat around? Whose pocket did that money come out of? Because it didn't come out of Trump's pocket.
No.
Did he grip?
Campaign. It's a campaign.
Is it campaign funds? So anybody who has ever donated money to Donald Trump, what you're doing is you are funding photo ops.
Yeah.
And that's about it, because he's not paying his lawyers, and he's not posting bonds, and he's not buying ads. So what is he doing? What is he doing with your money? Don't you want to know? Don't you care? Don't you care? While he's trying to also take away your Social Security and stealing every last bit that you've ever worked for on golden sneakers and shitty Bibles.
But Tara, you have to understand. Fuck you. That's what you get for being poor,
but fuck me.
Right.
That's right. Fuck me.
That's what happens to poor people. God wants it that way. Don't you understand?
Yes, God does. I forgot.
In his version of the Bible, in his edited version of the Bible, although what you do unto the least of these you do unto me, that part's been stricken. And the Lord said they had it coming.
Said I'm proud to be an American, where at least I know I'm free. What the fuck? So come on now, that's the Cletus national anthem. Knock it off.
One more time.
To answer that question, this has never happened in this country before. It's a ridiculous thing. It's a ridiculous case. I did nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Take a look at Greg Jarrett.
Also, I'd like to remind everyone that his whole, every legal scholar says that there should be no case. And yet he keeps naming the same four fuckers over and over and over again.
Who are his friends or
exactly.
lawyers so he's certainly not quoting Andrew Weissman.
No.
Or any of the Sisters-in-Law podcast women
or anybody but Greg Jarrett, Turley, Dershowitz, Mark Levin, who's not a lawyer insofar as I know, or certainly hasn't practiced in forever, and segmented rando.
This morning he went on, take a look at Andrew McCarthy or Jonathan Turley or Mark Levin.
Not the Brat Pack.
It's
no.
They say there's no case.
I call them the Shat Pack because they're
that's good.
The Shat Pack. They're the ones who have to sit next to him while he shits his pants in court.
Here. And yet the judge has gagged me, and I'm not allowed to talk about, I guess, his total conflict. The judge is totally conflicted.
He is totally conflicted. It's the judge is total conflict.
Totally conflict.
He's totally conflict.
Sounds like I remember when I had my first wine cooler too there, Paul. I mean, it's nutty. And again, there are things that you can forgive when people misspeak, or again, someone who's recovered from a speech impediment like Joe Biden and his stutter every so often, especially if he's been talking for a while. He'll trip over some words, but he'll also stop himself, reset himself. He'll apologize a little bit. Donald Trump will just keep going like he didn't just fuck up. That's his whole life. His whole life is all about.
He did not fuck up. Your ears are fucked. You do not listen. Those who do not have ears to listen cannot hear.
My biased ears.
Those who do not have diapers to shart shall not be king. Those I can quote the Trump Bible all day.
I really saw pictures of people online at a rally wearing shirts that said diapers over Democrats and real men wear diapers. I really saw that. What is wrong with you?
What's wrong with me is I want one of those shirts.
Why does he make a diaper with his mugshot on it? That's next, right?
Never surrender. Control of your bowels.
The man who says no surrender, who surrendered 4 times. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And surrenders every day.
And you ought to take a look at it. And I'm not supposed to be talking about it.
Yeah.
But I am allowed to say that the judge has a conflict that,
Yeah, you are allowed to say it, but you're not capable of saying it, I think. That's the interesting thing.
The other thing is, go back and look at his... Go back to 2015 when he blocked me on Twitter and never unblocked me. Why is that guy afraid of some lady on Twitter? Who am I?
Well, I'll tell you what, Tara, but you are not some lady on Twitter. You're Tara Dublin, and you rock.
Nobody's.
I know that, and you know that. But he
He found out the hard way.
I mean, all I did was tweet the truth to him. He didn't like it, and he blocked me. And
No.
then after
No.
it
No.
was ruled that it was illegal for him to block anyone on Twitter, the DOJ brought him a list of Twitter users to unblock, and he unblocked some, but not all.
Mhm.
So there's a handful of us who never got unblocked.
Well,
and I just find
if
it
I
so
may.
fascinating. And you can't FOIA the White House, but I would love to know. I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall
when you were
they put
struck
that
from the list.
And he's like, okay, all right. And then he sees like Danny Zucker. He's like, no, I'm not. No, fuck Danny Zucker. And then he sees, well, I don't know what this Tera Dublin is, but no, fuck that. No.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you who. I got to tell you.
I don't have that status.
Trump does not
right?
have. No, Trump does not have the mental fortitude or the testicular fortitude to fire people or cross people off a list or any of that shit. He leaves it up to other people. Corey Lewandowski or Jason Miller kicked you off that list and kept you off that list because they know you can do damage.
Both of them.
Yes, because
Miller
Rapey
blocked me
McSmoothie
soon after.
and Rapey McSmoothie and dipshit McPusher reporter, both of them are worried about you. So here's the rest of this.
Never had before. You ought to take a look at it. He's taken away my constitutional right to speak. I was in Miami this weekend.
So
And reporters are asking me questions, the same questions like you're asking me, and I have to say I have a gag order. I can't speak about it.
yeah, how about this? Like all officers of the court, like all defense teams and plaintiff teams in these kind of cases have to. Like all jurors do.
The judge, like
Right.
the court stenographer, like
Also-
everybody whose job it is to be there.
Right. And anybody who's ever been in trouble for threatening people's lives.
Never happened before.
Any
ever.
other cases?
Also, by the way, when he says never happened before ever, just for the record, there's never been a president tried in this way. So that's what he means. He gets to keep saying this has never happened before. It happens all the fucking time to citizens. And I got news for you. The only thing that makes him different is he's a former president. But right now, this is citizen fucking Trump. And citizen fucking
Correct.
Trump has to play by the same rules the rest of us have to. And the
Correct.
classified documents case specifically is a crime and a conspiracy he committed after he was out of office when he was back to citizen Trump and were wholly unrelated. Even his own Supreme Court flunkies agree that was wholly unrelated to his duties as president. Sorry,
Correct.
fuck you.
And he's not getting that immunity.
Fake trial. They have no case. And it's been absolutely proven now. They have
No, it hasn't. Why don't you just fire your fucking lawyer right there then? By the way, Eric.
Little tiny hands.
Yeah, Eric is standing right there.
He makes Eric go to court as if he has any support from any member of his family.
Alina Habba is right there. And then that's Boris Epstein, who has started
Boris
showing...
Epstein, who's so compromised.
Well, that's the thing. Boris has started showing up ever since the Arizona indictments came down.
I've been blocked by Boris forever, too.
Yeah.
It's
No
pathetic.
case.
All pathetic cowards.
whatsoever. This is Alvin Bragg doing it for political reasons for Biden. This is a Biden trial. He's a
Apparently, by the way, that's...
trial for crimes he committed in 2016. Okay.
Yeah, right. Well, the other thing, too, is that
Biden wasn't running.
There is no gag order. He's allowed to talk about the DA and the president all he fucking wants. He's only running against one of them, and he can shit talk them up and down. Also, shit talking the judge and all this kind of stuff. Save it for the appeal, motherfucker. You'll get an appeal.
You're going to be able to appeal this because criminal conviction, you want to try to appeal a criminal conviction. First of all, that'll take for fucking ever. And then he has to go straight into his next trial. He's got to go from here to Florida.
Right, but he doesn't have to be present.
DC.
He doesn't have to be personally present for the appeal unless it's a retrial. So his attorneys, this pack of the Shat pack in charge of this one, can go and handle that, and then he can move on to his next group of attorneys and just kind of leapfrog from one to the other. So he absolutely can.
So he can lose an appeal while he's losing the stolen documents
yes,
case.
That's exactly right.
I'm
very yes, and he
layers
will lose
of losing. Layers of
yes,
losing.
he'll lose the civil appeal and the appeal for this while he's being convicted in the classified documents case, and that, ladies and gentlemen, that's the campaign. That's entirely the Trump campaign this year. That is their get out the vote campaign, which is lose appeals while losing actual cases and try to convince everybody that you're Yeah, that you being treated like a normal person is them denigrating the United States of America. That's it.
Crooked president. Now, it just came out, Colombia just canceled their commencement. Axios. Colombia just canceled their commencement.
And
that has what to do with you, fucko?
Wait, this is the part that I think he thinks is helping him, but isn't. I don't know if you heard this part, but this is kind of weird. I mean, it's an odd choice. They just hand him shit. Maybe this will work. It's just he's throwing, poop against the wall to see if it sticks.
Protesters, many of the protesters are backed by Biden's donors.
Biden's donors, which he says like voters, doters. Anyways.
Okay, are you listening, Israel? I hope you're listening, Israel. Hope you're getting smart. But they're backed by...
By the way, the U.S. just...
Yahoo, you fucking piece of shit.
Yeah, the U.S., by the way, just negotiated... Blinken, through the Qataris and Egypt, have negotiated a ceasefire with Hamas and Israel in an attempt to end the war that may involve the return of all hostages. That's breaking news. We'll see if it holds. It's always on the edge. But that's happening right now. And might be, by the way, why he's coming out with this shit and why he wants to hold this stuff up, because he knew about it. Somebody told him that that they have negotiated this. Israel said no, but it won't matter. The reality is that they will ultimately, they're not going to do the Rafah thing during this negotiative part. So that is going forward. It's a good step. There'll be like I said, we'll see if it holds, but it's a lot of back and forth. But the U.S. is doing that part right now. And we just gave a bunch of money that the Republicans dragged ass on to Israel for their Iron Dome to protect themselves. By the way, Hamas fired rockets yesterday into an area a crossing that is only used for aid right now, killed 3 Israeli soldiers who were guarding aid going into the country, and have hijacked 6 trucks in the last 2 days that are supposed to be for the refugees in Rafah, and they stole them and took them up there and then bombed the route so no more stuff could get in, because they think hungry people are angry people and that they will do this. And that's another sign that they don't like the fact that there's movement happening with the Hamas leadership outside the military wing under Yahya Sinwar inside of Gaza right now. They're trying to basically throw a monkey wrench in that whole shit. And I would like to remind everybody that Netanyahu, no friend of your average Israeli, no friend of your average Gazan, certainly,
anyone,
and no friend of any person in the United States, unless they're rich and can give him what he wants or help him stay in power and avoid prosecution for his corruption within the Israeli government, which was really the story up until all this shit came down. I'd like to say for the record that he's basically saying right now in all the sort of reporting and Haaretz and others, that all he has to do is fuck up Biden and make, Democrats angry with Biden for what Netanyahu's doing. That will get Trump back in, and Trump will let him do whatever he wants. That's it.
Of course he would. Well,
they can the aid the day Trump takes power, the day January 21st, if this is still going on, the pier stops. The resources going into Gaza stop on that day, on that fucking day. He will use everything that he used to try and stop aid going to Ukraine, in 2017, 2018, and 2019. He'll do all that shit to the Palestinians, and there will be talks, and this will be the culmination of the Abraham Accords, that Transjordan, which we now know as the West Bank, will become an effective no-go zone, like label only Palestine, that the Israeli government under Netanyahu will say is an area, but they will not give it full recognition, but it'll happen. But the other countries will allow it full recognition, and it will have this, they'll start building up a power structure within there, and then they will bulldoze fucking Gaza with the help of the Egyptians. That's what's going to happen. That's what Netanyahu wants to happen. That's what Donald Trump thinks should happen. He thinks it's shitty they gave up all this beachfront property to the Gazans, and that's who will get in. And all they got to do, all Netanyahu has to do, is scuttle peace every possible way until the voters go to the booth. That's it. That's what he wants. He's basically saying it's that easy. All I have to do is sit back and make them angry at Biden for shit I'm doing, which they will be, and he can't stop us because yeah.
And that's frustrating because
Yep.
the bottom line is that Joe Biden does not want people to die.
No.
Right? He does not want
and Trump does not care.
And Trump doesn't care because the GOP is a death cult and they all have a Death Jones, and they don't care about human collateral damage in any way, shape, or form as long as their pockets are continuing to be lined. They don't care. And that's why we have to continue to push the message that Joe Biden is doing everything he can to bring peace to the Middle East, that he wants a ceasefire, that he wants Hamas terrorism to stop, that he wants the Palestinians and the Israelis to be able to live and thrive in peace, people who are living in Gaza to live in peace without the threat of starvation or any further violence, and to blame Hamas terrorism on Joe Biden and also expect the American president to be your magician daddy who can go like this and fix everything is ridiculous. And at the very, very bare minimum, be grateful Donald Trump isn't the person who's currently in charge.
Guiding
because
this.
The Middle East would look
It'd
like
be over.
A giant crater
you know how we honestly, everybody honestly talks about how Trump's going, if I was in there, this Russian attack wouldn't have happened. Well, it would have happened, but they would have won in 6 hours. It would have been over. He
would have given
never would have. He would have made sure NATO was on its back foot. He would have guaranteed we weren't supporting them, and he would have gone, "This is not our problem." The same way he talked about it while he was in office, he would have gone, "I don't understand. I don't know why Russia would want to attack." So clearly, they were attacked by Ukraine. Whatever provocative, all the preemptive stuff, the false flags that we were hearing about before the Ukraine war that the Biden administration, everybody was warning us about, that they absolutely had evidence for. Trump wouldn't have talked about that. He wouldn't have broken protocol to let people know that this attack was coming and that they were planning on these fake attacks as a predicate for this war. Trump would have just let it happen. The same thing with fucking Gaza.
He loves freaking people out. It's all about the fear.
Right.
They make a lot of money from that. He gets a lot of attention.
What was his big move? What was Trump's big move in Israel? Reestablish, call Jerusalem the capital of Israel. Move the embassy, and then give the goal, recognize the Golan Heights as property of Israel from the United States. That move alone, that was one of the reasons why Yahweh Sinwar says, "Okay, right now we're just going to pretend we want peace and we want the Abraham Accords." And then he started planning October 7th specifically based on that idea.
Correct.
That's what triggered it. So and Trump's always like, I don't know why, President, they've been talking about it for a long time, but they never actually do it. Well, one of the reasons why they talk about it, then they get in there and everybody goes, by the way, there are more chess pieces on this board than you thought, Mr. President. If this happens, this happens. If this happens, these two things happen. If these two things happen, all this shit happens. That's why a lot of that stuff doesn't happen. Sometimes it's just PR, and that's what was in Afghanistan. One of the reasons why, when you're running for office in an election year, when there's the potential for leaving someplace like Afghanistan, it's gonna be ugly. It just is. There's no way you're in somewhere for 21 years and getting out is simple and clean and no mess, no foul. Could have done it during COVID. Under the cover of COVID, he could have snuck us out of the country. Trump could have gotten us down to 100 fucking embassy staff and then quietly flew them out in the middle of the night. But he's fucking dumb.
You know what else he could have done? He could have sealed his reelection if he had actually spoken the truth about COVID to the public instead of just talking about it behind closed doors with Bob Woodward. And his staff is so ineffective and so stupid and just as terrible as if nobody saw what a great political opportunity it would have been for him to truly save lives if he actually cared about anyone other than himself. And then he got COVID and it almost fucking killed him. Yeah. And then he tried to play it off like it was no big deal.
I wouldn't doubt. Again, wouldn't it be ironic?
Saving lives is how you look good, not ending them.
Right.
I'm just saying that. So if you're advocating for something that's going to continue to hurt people, kill people, fuck with their livelihoods, I'm going to say you're not doing it for the best of reasons.
For them.
You are making money You are a death merchant. You are profiting from other people's human misery,
Right.
and you're all doing it to line your bank accounts. You don't care about humanity. If you cared about humanity, you wouldn't be butt buddies with Bibi. That's just, I mean, that's just fact.
Right.
And if you are aligning with dictators and you're emulating dictators and you're bragging that if you get back in power, you're going to be a dictator on day one, that should be scaring the ever living shit, even out of your most loyal, your most loyal people, because no one thrives under a dictatorship except the dictator. And
Right.
so everyone really needs to take a step back and say, what is more important to me, being a dick on the internet or actually living my life and watching my family thrive and survive? Because even the worst fucking people who love him have people in their lives that they care about and want to live and survive. So, you know, remember that song that Sting released in the 80s about Russians. I wonder if the Russians love their children too, because it's such an ignorant thing to do, because there's no such thing as a winnable war. It's a lie we don't believe anymore. Those lyrics you can apply to Trump supporters now.
Yes.
Do you love your children? Do you love your family? Do you want to live a full and productive life? Or do you want to live forever in fear and never truly reach any kind of potential because your dear leader doesn't want you to? There's a reason they want to take away public education and SNAP benefits and Social Security. There's a reason they want to take books out of the library and not let you learn for yourself. There's a reason they want to prevent women from having autonomy over their bodies. There's a reason. It's all about control and power. Nothing is about giving you anything good. So,
well,
again,
and also,
and we're over. Democrats deliver, Republicans remove. You want catchphrases taking us into November? Democrats deliver, Republicans remove. Do you want to live a life full of good things that you can thrive and pass down to your children?
I'll go with destroy.
Or do you want it destroyed and everybody lives in the Dust Bowl?
Yeah, Democrats deliver, Republicans destroy. And that's...
I mean, if you want to go alliterative, which
I like it. Enjoy. I think it sells well. I think it's good.
Yes, it does. Speaking of selling well, The Sound of Settling is now sold so 645 copies on Amazon, sold out the first bunch, except for 4 at powells.com. I don't care what any MAGA says. I'm fucking proud of this book. It's the best thing I've ever written. And a lot of people love this book. And a lot of people have given it 5 stars, not the fake reviews.
The trolls, obviously.
Shouldn't put up there. But here's the thing. If I wrote a book that has nothing to do with politics, and this is something that I'm very proud of and that I love, of course they're going to tease me for it because they go after the things that we love the most. And so that's why we have to be louder and why we have to support each other. And so
more full of love and not be afraid to love.
For those of you who are here for the good reasons, TeraDublinRocks.com or Powells.com. I'm also on the Substack and on Twitter, and I'm not leaving Twitter even if Nick Fuentes is back. Fuck you, frog boy. I'm not leaving. Right. Nazis don't run me out of anywhere. Not this Jew. Not this Jew. You're not running this Jew out of... Fuck you, Nick Fuentes. Fuck you and your stupid fuck. Is there a dumber made-up word than groiper? I don't think so. You and your fucking frogs. I swear to...
Maganomics is close.
I know. I have this friend when I lived in New York in the 90s and we waited tables together. He was this big, beefy Irish kid from Queens. And his mom was like, he always did this impression of his mom smoking cools. It's like, I swear to Christ, Jesse. So every time someone said that, I always want to say, I swear to Christ, Jesse. They're going to fucking kill us all. So I swear to Christ, you guys, please. I don't want anyone to die. I don't want anyone to be grifted. I don't want anyone to take a grudge and make that their livelihood. I don't want that to be what you lead with. It's very easy to go through life in love with your anger, and that's just so unhealthy. Yeah. And so release it. Release it. We just had May the 4th. May the 4th be with you.
Always.
Let all of the good stuff from the force flow through you instead of all of this negative dark side shit, because it'll just bring you down. So read a nice rock and roll love story. Buy it as a gift for a friend. Mother's Day is coming up. Your mom loves Dave Grohl. Everybody's mom loves Dave Grohl. So come on, friends.
Yeah, mom.
I don't know how. I'm just throwing everything at the wall to see if it'll stick. I don't know
how
to
like it.
Thrive and survive anymore, but I'm doing my best.
Hey, it's how we come up with the phrases. I think the Democrats deliver, Republicans destroy.
Republicans remove.
I think you actually go the other. Republicans destroy, Democrats deliver is a way to chain the D's together to make it better. I think that works really well.
You could do that.
Yep. But you gotta again, yeah. The being able to like kind of workshop that shit here is got its own value. We're over time, so I'll let you go. Thank you so much, Tara, for joining us. And
guys, be good, be sweet to each other, and have a great week. And I'll see you next Monday.
Be excellent to each other. Okay, thanks, Tara. Whoa, excellent. So thank you guys so much. Really good show today. Really good show. Cliff Schechter, ladies and gentlemen, in Cincinnati. Had no idea. Now I get to hang out with him. And Tera Dublin Rex is called. So there you go. I will see you guys later this afternoon. Let's see, what's is Madison this weekend? It is, isn't it? I leave Friday for that. So the only programming note might be the Friday afternoon show. No, I think Friday afternoon should be fine because I think I'm red-eyeing it in and burning myself down going there. I think we're okay. And then after that, Albuquerque, we made some new friends because it's the Nerd Halen show. They're going to come. Really good show. Thank you for noticing my Ed Sullivan. And I will see you guys later on this afternoon. So pretty much, I think all the shows are intact. Unless I go to LA, which I might have to. Only partially have to because I have some stuff to do, but also I could move it. But Boston Brian is around this week and I want to go see him. So I'm trying to work that shit out. So Boston Brian, I'll give you a ringy dingy. As it were. But until then, take care of yourselves and take care of somebody else. And I'll see you this afternoon with my completely different setup on this show. I don't even know how the buttons work on this. Let's see. How about... Where'd my credits go? Roll, credits, roll.